Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Victor, for inviting me to be part of this workshop. And I would like to congratulate Hope on its 25th year. At the outset, I would like to say that I am associated with HRLN, but I run my own organization called Center for Constitutional Rights Research and Advocacy in Kerala. We continue to work with Legal Service Authority and all other like-minded organizations. With respect to child rights work in child rights situation in Kerala, um, like as per the latest statistics, if you see, Kerala has been considered to be one of the most child-friendly states. But also we have right now the systems are all in place. We have the, as per the JJ Act, we have the Child Welfare Committee, we have the JJ boards in all the 14 districts. We have observation homes set up, children's home for girls and boys set up, and district child protection unit, child welfare officers, SJPU, all these people have been set up. Now, implementation, there is a lot to be desired. Though I will not say that we are bad, but we need a little. I mean, if you look at the actual intent of the JJ Act and if you look at the child rights situation overall, there is lot to be there's lot to be desired, because there needs to be continuous training and sensitization of the people on the issues relating to child rights, because that basic understanding of child rights needs to percolate to the last member of the implementing agency, and that is somewhere I feel sometimes lacking, because it is more with respect to how a person would relate at home rather than the actual principles of child rights. um, Kerala has seen a lot of child sexual abuse cases, especially in these years. There's been child abuse, child neglect cases. Though we have, cases have come up on account of media attention and action has been taken. But if you see some of the very cases where, on account of domestic violence, children have suffered greatly. I mean, like on hands of parents, whether it be step parents or their own parents, children being killed by on account of alcoholic fathers. These are some of the issues which we see now. When actual at the ground grassroots level, when a case actually comes before uh, a situation relating to child neglect from the family, there is a slightly um, there is much less intervention unless it becomes where the child is severely injured, and then compensation is given, the state intervenes, compensation gives, and then it gets closed. We have seen cases where we report a lot on child sexual abuse, but conviction rate is extremely low. And because of that, recently we've had this High Court issuing guidelines on what on trying to have proper uh, implementation of the POXO Act, where also appointing nodal officers and things like that. Thirdly, what I would like to say, malnutrition. Malnutrition has been a very severe issue. Now, Attapadi, before COVID, Attapadi was known for its child infant deaths. Now, because of COVID, what has happened is these child deaths are still continuing to happen, but not much of action seems to be taking place. So the what I would like to say is that though we have the systems in place and education now, on account of the COVID, we've been on this bandwagon of online education. Now, online education means smartphones have to be available, TVs have to be available, and things like that. The poor, the marginalized community, or the poor people, the people who are of lower economic background, are completely they don't know from where to get the smartphone or where to get the laptops from. There are organizations trying to source and trying to give them. There is no questioning as to whether online education is good or bad. That's a totally different issue. But then the children with disability, they are totally ignored. Though they have initiated a whiteboard system, they say, where you can where they are addressing children with disability issues with respect to children with disability in the education sector, but it does not apply to the special schools. So children who are hearing impaired, children who are mentally who are there with intellectual disability or blind, special schools, there are totally out of this particular online education, and there's been no manner of trying to address that particular issue. So Corona has brought out new challenges, but at the same time, what we feel, as ma'am was also saying, implementation in the true sense also requires funding to the organizations who are actually dealing with this, especially the homes. So you look at Nirbhaya homes, you look at the observation homes, you look at NGOs. For them, the funding has not been reaching on time. Consequently, what happens is the children who are supposed to get the services as is envisaged in the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act get lost, because many of the organizations are totally dependent on the government funds, and when they are dependent on government funds and it's not coming, then the services suffer. So implementation, just merely setting up committees on board or having all the systems in place does not really help. The act talks about the management committees and children's committees, but all are on paper, does not really function. Now so so what eventually, what I feel is that though we say that we are better off than the rest of the country, at some point, for true implementation to happen, we need to have greater movement of funding from the government into these organizations for effectively uh, for effective implementation. That's what I would like to say. Thank you so much.